I will kick it off here. We might be fewer folks today because I understand that there's already quite a few people already traveling to Thailand. I myself am currently in Chiang Mai attending Edge City at the moment. So hello Thailand at 11:30 p.m. Happy to be here with you all. Just a few housekeeping things before we jump in. Of course, just the call will be recorded and posted on the new ZK Nation YouTube channel. If you have not seen that yet, the last call recording is also on there. The last delegate call recording is on there as well. And if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat or raise your hand. And yeah, we will kick it off then with the agenda here today. The link is also in the chat. Yes, I would love to let Dennis in. I believe he is in. No. He might have to re-request. But yeah, so there wasn't a lot of action on this week's thread. I had added a few items. If you scroll down, you can kind of see the meat to them. But the first item that I wanted to go over was in regards to the next delegate call. And as mentioned, there'll be quite a few people. The next delegate call will be the first day of DevCon. So I think quite a few people will either be there or kind of be distracted with that going on. So we can talk about that a little bit. And then the other item I added was also in relation to DevCon, in particular, the Delegate Meetup that will be happening there on Tuesday, and just for some topic curation. I don't see him on the list, Sid. I don't see Dennis like on this list.
No worries, I'm just coordinating with him.
Can you send me his email and I can invite him?
Yeah.
Separately. Yeah, and then also just wanted, if folks were interested, we could also just do a little not proposal review, but wanted to call out that there are 2 proposals on the forum right now. Give a little update on Ignite that could be going live today or will be going live today very soon. So yeah, if anybody else, like I said, if anybody else has any other items that they would like to discuss, feel free to drop in the chat, or you can just raise your hand at the end as well. Great. Okay, so I just invited Dennis. We'll see if he makes it in. Great. Okay, so just to kick off with this first topic, so the next delegate call on November 12th, I added a little post here earlier today, just kind of outlining that it will be very difficult to be available that week to lead the call. And I also understand there'll be quite a few folks who will be at DevCon themselves. The question is, do we want to keep the call? Or would you like to reschedule it? Rescheduling it would mean just moving it a week back, and then we'd have 2 calls, one after the other, and then continue on the normal schedule, the normal cadence. We wouldn't mess up the cadence. So I dropped a little poll here if folks want to vote or leave sentiment there. I think it's totally fine if we keep that call, because there'll be quite a few folks not going to DevCon, and you guys can definitely still use that call in that space. I'll try to join at least to start the recording. But yeah, that was just like an open question about that call. In addition, if there would be any interest in facilitating that call. You also don't need to have like a facilitator. You also can just chat together. But if anybody wanted to try out this role, would be super, super excited to see other folks take that on as well. So that's there. You can either leave comments there or we can talk about it here on the call. The second topic is in relation to the call to action for delegates. So I posted this thread also just a few hours ago in regards to the delegate meetup. I've shared the invite in the delegate announcements Telegram channel as well a few times, but it's also linked here. If you're going to be in DevCon, feel free to sign up. There is limited capacity, so we're asking folks who are group delegates or entities to only send one person. If there's room, we'll add more, but we're trying to leave space for a diverse group there. But the idea behind this meetup is actually to kind of collect ideas and sentiment from all delegates. So it's open to any delegates to leave feedback here, and kind of boil that down into some main topics, concerns, questions, goals, just priorities for delegates that are top of mind right now, just to do kind of like a temperature check for everyone. Boil those down into a kind of a shorter list, and then present that list to participants at the meetup and workshop a few of those topics. So that's kind of the idea for the meetup. And in order to do that, and try in an effort to try to get a diverse input on those topics, it would be great if folks wanted to leave their comments here. There's some guiding questions here to help you get thinking about brainstorming what your maybe top 3 would be. And then we'll take that and use that for the meetup actually live. So yeah, please do that. If you're interested, you also don't have to, just as soon as possible, so we can have that ready to go for the meetup in 2 weeks, 2 weeks from today, actually. Any questions on those 2 things? Comments, feelings? Great. Really looking forward to meeting some of you guys in person next week or in 2 weeks. Yeah, so the other, and then yeah, please, if you have a minute or strong feelings, please respond to this poll as well. That's in this call thread. Yeah, so those were kind of the 2 items, the only items that I had on the forum. And then also wanted to kind of just highlight the 2 open proposals that are on the forum right now. I think a lot of you folks attended the proposal review call last week that happened. And that recording is also on the YouTube channel as well. Rough. But yeah, yeah, that's also a good question. But on the topic of the kind of 2 open proposals, I think everybody's kind of familiar with the active TPP that's open right now, the Ignite program. I just shared that in the chat. There's also a zip that's on the forum right now. I'm not sure if folks have taken a look at that. There hasn't been as much action on that one, but I also just shared that one in the chat as well, just calling that one out. Yes, and now maybe we can kind of get to some questions. So Rafa had asked in the chat, and it's also helpful for us to know kind of where folks are getting their governance notifications at the moment. I think most of the people in this call at the moment, looking at the attendee list, are in the Telegram channel. But yeah, if there's any other places you're finding helpful to get notifications, it'd be interesting for us to know. Ines, to your question, do you have submitted on chain? Do you have like proposals submitted on chain notifications on Telegram? So yeah, we're working on setting up more of like an automated RSS feed type of notification system for that. But currently, the governance team is your RSS feed. We'll be sending all notifications on any on-chain action in relation to a proposal in the Telegram chat for folks to follow along. But we're working on automating that as well. Any comments or questions in regards to either of the proposals that are active right now, or to governance notifications. Yes, Rafa.
Just out of curiosity, I know that there's a couple people on this call working or starting to brainstorm and refine some potential new proposals, because they, sent me a note on Telegram. It's like, hey, I'm working on this. I'm kind of curious if anybody wants to share any of the proposals that they're working on, but also if anybody has other proposals that they're aware of that they want to share with everyone. I'm just kind of curious. Okay. Silence is golden. Thanks, guys.
Okay. Any other topics that folks wanted to discuss, or any other questions?
I don't know if anybody here has seen. So I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the master plan here of what the next 6 months look like. Is there a communication channel outside these calls? There's a Telegram announcement channel that we just started out. But besides that, it's either the forum, this call, or the Telegram announcement channel. So one of the things that I'm kind of looking forward to, and I'd love for you guys to get a bit of like collective intelligence, or crowdsource a couple ideas, is programs that or proposals that have been successful in other DAOs that we think that we should adopt within ZKsync. So one example I came across today, which I thought was pretty cool, was that Arbitrum is adopting, hopefully, the DAO URI kind of like metadata standard, so that their information is composable across like different tools. I think this is like also like a link in ENS profile, and that's kind of cool. But I wasn't sure if there are other proposals, and I know I saw the Oreta team doing an audit program for Uniswap, which I thought was pretty cool. But if you guys have programs that you believe especially have been successful historically, I really want to hear about them, and I want them to like be a topic of conversation, because finding out what has worked and seeing if it's a good fit for ZKsync is obviously really good. So that's my only request, I guess, on my behalf and on Shelby's behalf. If you guys have ideas or proposals from a variety of other different ecosystems that you're a part of that you think that we should adopt at ZKsync, please feel free to post on the forum. Also, happy to hop on a call to discuss it if needed. But yeah, trying to get more visibility on that.
Yes, great. Okay, folks, anything else? Otherwise, we can also keep this one short and sweet. Yeah, Bernard?
Maybe just last thing to clarify on the topic curation, which I think is an exciting format. Is it limited in any regard in terms of what we want to get out of it as a session, as an offline session? Like, should it be general topics and we come in very early? Should it be advanced proposals where groups want to get input? Is it flexible or open to whoever wants to put something forward?
It's really meant, or it was thought to be more open, because again, since everything is so new, and this community of delegates in particular is also, new as well. It's really kind of almost like a temperature check moment for us to kind of see what delegates are thinking about, what is top of mind, no matter what that may be. So feel free to write whatever or add whatever you would like. Again, the guiding questions hopefully help a little bit. But yeah, feel free to add whatever you would like. Okay. Yeah, also just a note on the delegate meetup, because I know a lot of folks won't be able to make it. We will somehow capture this in written form, and we'll be sharing outcomes, a summary and outcomes from these workshops on the forum, so other folks can also review that as well, post workshop.
By the way, yeah, thank you, Ines, for sending me a Telegram message and reminding me. Guys, there's been a bunch of conversations about like delegation and delegate tokens. I just want to clarify a couple things here. So at ZKsync, anybody can delegate their tokens, whether they're locked or not, as long as they actually own them. So that's the most important piece. So what that means in practice is like, let's say if there are like any grants to specific partners, token grants, if there's the Matter Labs team members, investors, everybody who owns actual tokens, if their tokens are theirs, they can delegate the voting power of those tokens. Now, because the tokens are locked, you might see some strange kind of like address stuff like going on chain, which what happens is custody providers. So like if I have locked tokens, I don't actually have the tokens in my own personal wallet, because then I could transfer them. They're held in a custody provider. So the custody provider has like has the tokens which are locked, and they have their own like kind of systems of how they distribute the tokens across like wallets and whatever it is. So you might see a bunch of like different like duplicate wallets that have like tokens, and those are being delegated. But overall, we've been monitoring the delegations closely. So everything looks okay on chain, and the delegations look okay. And based on the activity that we're seeing on chain, it does seem like both Matter Labs team members as well as like investors, some of them have delegated their tokens. So just wanted to call that out. There's nothing special here. The main thing is that everybody who owns tokens can delegate the voting power of those tokens. If you have any questions, feel free to send me a note, or just ask it here on the forum. Just let us know. I think there's a question from someone I might have interrupted.
From Zer8.
Yes, hello. I'm new to this call. It's my first one. I've been airdropped tokens by ZK, and I was curious, as a delegate who's self-delegated, how is ZKsync thinking about the overlap between ZK's governance and the other L2s in the Ethereum ecosystem governance, like in the delegates? So how is it thinking about that relationship?
Sorry, can you repeat? Thinking about the overlap?
Yeah, the overlap in delegates between ZK delegates and other L2 delegates.
Yeah, good question. So about like how delegates participate in multiple ecosystems?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to see Bernard or Christoph maybe provide, or Dennison provide a bit of a guidance here, because I know there's quite a couple like big delegates participating in multiple ecosystems. Chris, you want to go ahead?
So it depends on what the question is, because like I don't know how to answer it. Yes, we are pretty open that our goal is to be present in every L2 ecosystem, because we are this Ethereum ecosystem stewards. That's how we see our role here. We are representing the Ethereum ecosystem, so it makes sense for us to be delegates in every single L2, and not, for example, on Solana. That's why we are not involved on Solana, for example. But I think that depends on, like, I can see other delegates having different agendas. So the question is, what exactly are you asking about? And by the way, you are also present here and on other ecosystems. So, like, what is it exactly that you're asking about?
Well, it's just that this is not an accusatory question. It's just a curiosity of mine, because I'm personally new to the governance in layer 2. So I'm just curious how our organizations thinking about like this thing. Like, is there a COI? Is there like between all these things? So it's just a simple question with a very complex answer, I guess. It's so.
Yeah, maybe you can share your background. Like, you are a delegate here in Scroll, in Arbitrum, probably in others as well. So, like, what is your position here?
Well, I'm personally just having fun at the moment. Like, I just I have not thought about that at all. So that's why I asked. Like, I was just.
So, like, how I see it is, I believe that, like, my goal is for the future financial activity. Like, how I see it, my approach to this is, I foresee a future in which, like, in 2 years from now, most financial activity is happening on some crypto rails. And right now we are figuring out like what rails will it be. And I hope, my goal is for those financial transactions to be happening in some kind of Ethereum L2 or Ethereum itself. Why? Like, there are reasons, like, for like values that are held with Ethereum, permissionlessness, censorship resistance, trustlessness, all those things. And I see L2s as extension of Ethereum. And I don't believe that there are too many L2s. Like, I think that we have not enough right now. If you think about it, like, how many banks are there in the world? Like, we probably need as many L2s. And like, right now, how I see it, like, we are not competing with other L2s in ZKsync. We are competing against ourselves. Like, we are competing for the market, for this future financial activity. Like, the whole crypto right now is tiny in relation to what I foresee it to be 10 years from now. And even if we won with all current competitors in L2s, but didn't extend aside from this, we would still fail. It's how I see it. Is like, right now, L2s competing is like Siemens competing with Nokia for phone market share in the late 90s. I want, we need to be iPhones, not better Siemenses. We need to capture the market. That's how I see it, at least. So that's why somebody asked a question about competition in the chat. For me, like, to be honest, I don't really see it even as a competition between us and even other ecosystems like Solana. Like, I see the competition between us and traditional finance markets. And it's an unfair competition because we have a lot of advantage on the technical side. It's simply, we need to figure out how to grow, how to capture the market, how to make people use our solutions, how to help them.
Yeah, that's a great. I just want to also echo, like, I think the vibe that I personally want to see at ZKsync is, collective intelligence, as one of the Telegram groups that I'm part of, is like constantly, like, the grow the pie. Like, there's so much potential opportunity for blockchain, and, like, we should be heavily involved in a bunch of them. I think that L2 versus L2 type of narratives are a bit of like a temptation. Like, it's a bit of engagement bait. We should, like, stay away from that and stay towards, like, actually growing the ecosystem and finding people who are ready to make the transition to blockchain, the same way that there's been a transition to, like, cloud and to new types of technologies in the past. I got to drop off, guys, but this is super useful.
See you, Rafa. June, did you have your hand up?
I think I was just sort of echoing some of Christoph's points.
Great, awesome. Bernard, I think you had your hand up next.
Yeah, I think our perspective is quite similar, and not wanting to throw another meme in with the rising tide floats all boats. This generally how we think also working across different L2s, because for us it's even a different angle that I think is even worthwhile sharing. Also contributing work as a service provider. I think in the ZK case, as just one example, it's obviously very exciting from a innovation perspective in terms of what type of programs we are currently working on here, and certainly something that is somewhat open and in the public sphere, and you can never prevent another ecosystem to build on top of that. And I think that should also generally be the mindset that we all have, right? Like how we see it, one program after the other, these things get more innovative, smarter, more effective across ecosystems. We started with like very basic grant programs 2-3 years back, and now talk about capital activation programs that are connected directly to KPIs, and there's a whole smart contract infrastructure connected to payouts and so on. So that's, I think, generally something that we observe to be productive for the whole space and doesn't need to be in silos and kind of protected for one DAO versus the other in the L2 sphere.
Chris?
Yeah, so one thing that I wanted to add also is regarding like involvement of delegates in different ecosystems. I think that we have this opportunity to be able to exchange ideas, because right now I see those ecosystems very siloed within their own communities. And I think that us who are involved across different spaces are able to bridge those communities. So, for example, like I've seen grant programs in Optimism, I've seen grant programs in Arbitrum, not mentioning that I've seen many grant programs before. I'm working on grant programs for like 15 years now. So, and I can use this to, to share my experiences when we were designing Ignite program. Also, like I think that something that we should be helping is stress out the strong points. So, for example, everybody on the internet was talking last week about Kraken doing the ink chain on Superchain. While, in my opinion, one of the biggest news of the last week is actually ZKsync doing Quark ID in Buenos Aires. And how can we amplify that? Like, how can we, how can like, I think this is really important and this is huge. And how can we amplify that and help it grow? That's the things I'm thinking about.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, folks. I think you highlighted some good points. As we all know, participating in any DAO, even a single DAO, can be extremely overwhelming. And if you're participating in a lot of them, there's a lot of information to always keep track of. If you're new to a lot of ecosystems, I guess it's what I would recommend is definitely make sure you understand what governance is being used for in each of those ecosystems. Use your other delegates as resources and partners to lean on and ask questions, especially those who have been around a little bit longer too. Well, we've all been around, I guess, the same amount of time in this DAO since it just launched. But yeah, those were great points made by everyone. Were there any other questions or comments that anyone wanted to share here? One, I guess, additional thing to the topic we were just talking about is resources. If you notice within the ZKsync governance system that there's maybe something missing or something's not clear, always feel free to call that out. Also request additional resources, or if you see something work in other communities, feel free to suggest or propose that on the forum here, see what other delegates think. I encourage you, but when in doing that, to also consider the context of this community as well, while you're pitching that. But yeah, it's always open and flexible in terms of evolving resources, making your participation simpler and seamless as possible. Chris, yes.
Yeah, so like actually to this point, and going back to my previous point about the Quark ID and the Buenos Aires deployment, I think that what I would like to see more, like I'd like to see more information about that, and especially how can we help it grow as a community? Like, who should we bring to the table? Like, who should we make aware of this being available? There are a lot of communities in this, in Argentina that we have links to. I would like to understand what can they do, like, what can I tell my Argentinian friends? Like, can they build something on top of it? Should they start looking for it? Who to connect them with? Like, how can we make? And I would like to actually, and for me it's easy, but I would like to have it across the our community. Maybe have some presentation, maybe have some sessions, like dedicated session to explain, like, what was it, like, what is it really, how does it work, like, how did we get there? Because it's just a news on Twitter, and as I said, like, for me this is big. Like, this is actually something important that could be with a huge potential. So if we can have a bit more info about it from community, because as I said, like, I know who to ask and how to get more info. But I would like to, for everybody in this call, to have more info on this, and what can they do with that, and who should they think about in their network to spread the word to.
Yeah, that's a really good point, really interesting point. I think one really cool aspect about this group of delegates, or I guess any group of delegates, is that we're based all over the world. So we also have people in all of these different places and countries that we can reach out to, and also ask kind of how things are there, like on the ground. In regards to getting the word out more, getting more information, I guess just I think in general, like this kind of stuff, like I would post all of this on the forum. If you saw the Quark ID thing on Twitter and you're like, this is amazing, we want delegates, or me, even just me, one delegate wants more information on this, how can we get more information? The association, so the governance team, can help coordinate that discussion, if you would like, with the Matter Labs team or other developers in the space, or dev teams who are building chains as well, on ZKsync, and we can try to coordinate something there if that's helpful. But I think the best place to like call out or ask for things like this would be the forum, because that's the place where everybody has access to, and then it also allows us to share that, then forward that easily then to the appropriate teams and get people involved, and do maybe more information sessions or host a call or whatever it is.
So I will do this reach out on the forum. However, what I was thinking about, like, I took, like, it's actually from my experience today. I had 2 calls with Latin American teams building on like onboarding users there, and they didn't know about this, like, because they are in different bubbles. So, and they are not on ZKsync forum, so they didn't know about it. And I pointed them out that, like, hey, you should be interested in that, as you might want to cooperate, you might want to build on top of it. And, like, I didn't know, even, like, I sent them to the tweet, and that's where they ended up right now. We should think about, like, how to facilitate it in the future.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great initiative. I don't have like an answer or solution to this. I'm just also spitballing ideas here. If anybody else has good examples or formats that they've seen in other ecosystems, also please feel free to share. But we
maybe
can
in this situation self-organize this?
Sorry.
Sorry, my net is weird. I think maybe in these situations we should self-organize as delegates rather than this to be on the foundation. And that's the power of delegates in the ecosystem. We can do some stuff, right? We don't need everything that's on foundation. And to be honest, I would rather keep these calls on the things that are specific to proposals that are for development of the ecosystem rather than the different combos. Yes, there is a whole narrative around the information flow. I think the ZKsync in general is not good with the communication, but I think from recently they have the marketing person, the CMO, if I'm not wrong. So I think rather for stuff like this, we should approach someone like that than try to sort it out here. It's
Yeah, for sure. Good points. First, just one clarification. The association supports governance. The foundation is completely separate and doesn't have anything to do with governance. But yes, and these calls will always remain these calls. If there were, these would be calls in addition to. And this is also just kind of as a reminder for folks, if you guys want to host a call outside of this call on any topic, on proposal review, on something like this, like, please propose it or like write it on the forum, and I'm super happy to add it to the delegate call calendar. Just a reminder there. But yeah, Eunice, I agree. Like if people have access to reaching out to like the Matter Labs team, the CMO at the Matter Labs team, that's great. Definitely do that. I'm just trying to provide a solution for folks who don't have that direct connection and need help possibly just having somebody facilitate that conversation to get that connection made. The forum's like a good place to go where everybody can see, and the association keeps an eye on. Somebody had their hand up, but I didn't see the name. Cap, sorry.
Yeah, so I had a call with Rafa actually today, and we briefly mentioned the possibility of creating ecosystem weekly calls where we would just go over everything TPP related, active TPPs or TPP ideas, or just brainstorming and discussing, ecosystem wins, ecosystem integrations, collaborations, partnerships, where we can highlight the builders, where we can highlight the artists and give them, exposure and maybe space to present like every week, 10, 15 minutes, something like that. So if we came to the conclusion that it's maybe a bit early, but few months then we can restart this conversation, or whoever is interested, again, feel free to send me a DM, and then we can just together work on making sure that we build this and have like the ever evolving agenda of like what would these calls cover and what would the ecosystem leads people be sort of like in charge, and what would be their duties and stuff like that. So yeah, if anyone has any ideas or wants to brainstorm and discuss further, yes, I'll leave my Telegram account's name here. So yeah, send me a message. And yeah, that's all.
Another idea, love that idea, Cap. Another idea to already maybe even just keep a record of it is you could just like start a forum thread, like with your.
I wanted to do it, and I would even do it like voluntarily until we figure out how to do everything in terms of like this would have to be like a system that is like self-sustainable in terms of like, first of all, like, I guess this would be like an actual work, so some kind of compensation, but like I think also it's very important that we bake it into the governance mechanisms in a sense that whoever our ecosystem leads are people who have been chosen by the community of either delegates or the broader community. So like maybe a voting cycle like every 6 or 12 months or even 3 months, I don't care. But like I would happily volunteer if someone is also interested in helping me out with this, so we can just like build this entire thing, because I think this would involve TPP plus one of the governance proposals. So I don't know, like it's just an idea at this point, where I see it like just addressing the need that there is, but I haven't quite figured out how it would all work at this point. But yeah, happy to chat more.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for sharing the idea here, or planting the seed here. Yeah, keep us updated. And like I said, if you do solidify something and would like to have it added to the standing, or like the delegate call community calendar, let me know. Happy to add that. Okay, any reactions, I guess, also to what Cap just said? I saw lots of claps and thumbs ups and the confetti emoji in reaction while you were speaking, Cap. So I think there's some fans. Great. Okay. Anything else that anyone would like to bring up? All right. Okay. Well, then we can call it here. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Have a nice day, night, evening, everyone. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye, Ines. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Yeah, in regards to just one last little call out in regards to the next call, please do leave your feedback on that forum post, on the poll for this week's thread, just so we can kind of make a plan for the next call. Otherwise, that's it. Thanks, everyone. I'll try to share the recording latest end of day tomorrow. Bye, everyone.